Today on the Bone Barrel Podcast, we head back to the early 1980s to discuss the Weepy-Voiced Killer, Paul Stephani, then a video horror short from Beyond as we review Stork from VHS Beyond. It's all here on the Bone Barrel Podcast.
Happy spring and welcome, fellow Misfits.
Welcome.
Welcome to another episode of the Bone Barrel Podcast. We're your hosts, Brian Almeida
And Richard Jones.
We're very excited to have you here today.
I started watching this show, Yellow Jackets.
Oh, yeah, on Amazon.
Well, it's on Amazon. It's on Paramount. It might be on Netflix, but it's a Showtime original. It's an interesting show. It jumps between, 1996, the year I was born. And
Were you born in 96?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking crazy. I was 86, bro. Go ahead. That's crazy. Wow.
So basically the premise is that in 1996, this girls soccer team, high school soccer team, it shows them winning a game, and then from there they're going to nationals. And it shows the teen drama stuff going on, oh, this person's friend is sleeping with their boyfriend, blah, 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 stuff like that, right?
Sure.
And they all get on a plane. Well, this plane goes down in the wilderness. Some of the girls that are on the plane are just dead. They've been, impaled, mutilated. Some people, the pilots are dead. And then there's just a group of them, and they're surviving in the wilderness, and they're stuck out in the woods for a year and a half. And nobody can find them. And I guess they're found. I don't know. I'm only in season 1. I'm at the finale of season 1.
It's like some lost shit going on or
something.
But
one of the girls is she's kind of crazy. Her name's Misty, but she knows a bunch of stuff. Like what to forage for, how to cauterize a wound. And she's a teenager. She knows all this stuff. Well, she ends up finding the black box and destroys it.
She destroys the black box. Why?
Because everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're so helpful. I'm glad you're here." And she's like, "Oh my god, people want me around." And then the black box is how they would be found.
Yeah.
She destroys it
and all of this would end.
Yep.
Oh, what an asshole.
But nobody knows this.
Uh-huh.
They find a cabin. Some paranormal and supernatural stuff starts happening. And they start thinking the force doesn't want them to leave. And then it jumps to present day where I don't know how many of them survived. It gets culty kind of in the woods out there. But we follow, right now it's following 4, which it's following Misty. It's following this other girl that was kind of the alternative punk girl. This one of the girls that it mainly focuses on, and then this black girl who's running for Congress.
Okay.
Now, and this is years after they were rescued, but it keeps jumping back to the past. Oh, this happened, and this is why they act this way. And it's just a really interesting show.
It sounds like some. What's that? Lord of the Flies shit a little bit, but supernatural kind of.
Yeah, one of the girls starts has visions, she's psychic.
So super quick, the gal that Misty, the first gal, does she, she destroyed the black box because she wants to maintain
I'm pretty sure
her what do you call that? Her popularity, her.
And she's in love with the coach. And she remembers she's not even 18, and he's
Ew.
Yeah, it's a whole.
Are the feelings reciprocated, or is he sane?
Well, okay. At one point, I don't want to spoil it.
Okay,
if you're gonna watch it, you watch it. But
that sounds crazy.
It's good. You would like it. I know you would. It's not like a teen drama. It's
it's not like CW vibes.
No, I mean, it has its moments where it's like that, but it's mostly they're surviving out in the woods. They get attacked by wolves. It's the girl gets her face chewed off. It's the practical effects. There's blood. It's
So this Misty gal, right? She destroys the black box. Yes. Have you watched the entire series?
So apparently I heard today from a new coworker that the 3rd season just ended, and it's actually the last season.
Okay.
So, and I'm at the last episode of the 1st season, so I still got 2 seasons to go.
Because I was going to ask if they find out. They must find out at some point.
They probably do.
That she's...
Because in the present time, they're Misty's crazy.
Yeah, they must have found out that she
not deal with her. She starts putting hidden cameras in their rooms and stuff like that, and they don't know it. And so she's watching them, and it's wild. And she works in a retirement home, and she steals the meds and makes she ends up kidnapping somebody by making the drugs into a liquid.
What the fuck?
It's wild. You go give it a shot and go watch the first 1 or 2 episodes, and you'll see what I mean.
Okay, I gotta check it out.
And
now.
then I finished. I
Sorry.
finished Buffy.
Oh, what, the original show?
Buffy the Vampire
Dude,
Slayer.
I've never watched that show.
I'm gonna let you know that final season was horrible.
Horrible.
The ending sucked.
That's what happens with a lot of shows.
And even Sarah Michelle Gellar actually said it should have ended at season 4 or 5, and there's 7 seasons.
I've always thought she was a super cool actress. Like, I grew up watching, like, whoa, dude, I Know What You Did Last Summer in theaters, and you were, like, just, like, a little guy. That's crazy to me.
She's in Dexter Original Sin, the new one.
Yeah, I did
She's
see
the
that.
boss.
Mhm,
in that
absolutely. And she's married to Freddie Prinze Jr.,
Yeah,
who does that? Obviously, he does that podcast. Oh gosh, what's it called? That was pretty scary. Yeah, he does. That was pretty scary. And I don't know if you heard, but they're doing a sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar's talking about doing a new installment of the Buffyverse.
That'd be sick.
But I don't know what they would do. But the problem is that what's her name? Oh my God, Michelle Trachtenberg. Because Michelle Trachtenberg just passed away.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's sad.
So
they'd have to address that. That was a bummer because I always, I grew up with all that and, old school Nickelodeon. And I remember Michelle Trachtenberg when she first came around. Kind of like Amanda Bynes when she first came around.
Yeah.
And,
Amanda,
it was a huge bummer.
show.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I was all on top of that shit. All that.
Yep.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Do you think we should get into it?
I think so. I think you're up to bat, sir.
Welcome to Real Horrors, where we discuss true crime and all things truly horrible.
Yes.
So I'm going to be discussing Paul Michael Stephani.
Mm-hmm.
He's also known as the Weepy-Voiced Killer.
Yes, I've heard about this guy. Okay.
So he was called this because after he committed his crimes, he would call 911 and give details of what he'd done, where they would find the victim, doing all that while being audibly upset or crying hysterically through it.
I've heard about this guy. He's kind of like Billy in Black Christmas, where he's calling these guys going, please help me. I can't control myself,
Yeah.
right? Yes, okay.
Anyway,
yes,
literally, yeah.
Throwback. Anyway.
Even going to the point that he'd say, like, he'd kill himself for doing this or committing the things he did. Mm-hmm. Paul Stephani was born September 8th in Austin, Minnesota. He was the second born of 10 children.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot of kids.
That's my mom's generation, but we're Mexican, so I don't know what these people's excuse is.
White people.
Yeah.
Religious white people.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay.
So, he was the second born of 10 children. When Paul was 3 years old, his mother actually remarried a man who was slightly abusive. Mm-hmm. Paul would say that the abuse that his stepfather would commit was nothing crazy. He would just smack our heads against the wall, Pappin style.
Damn. Here we go. Starting early.
Yep. The house was known in many sources as being deeply religious. Catholicism. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being religious, Brian, as you say.
Sure.
Everybody should have faith. But in some cases, when a religion dominates a household, it can have lasting effects. So there isn't a lot known about Paul's early life to high school life, but we do know that he moved to Minneapolis after he graduated and became a shipping clerk and then did some janitorial work at a hospital.
Okay.
He did get married at one time to a woman named Beverly Linder. Not much is known about her either. He did have a daughter with her, however. Beverly and Paul were soon divorced, and he abandoned his daughter, never seeing or talking to her again.
Wow.
Paul worked in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, doing many different jobs. His most recent job that he was fired from at the time was a janitorial position at Malmberg Manufacturing Company in 1977.
Okay.
His killing spree was a short one, but it was between the years of 1980 and 1982. Mm-hmm. His first attempt was on New Year's Eve, 1980.
That's my birthday. That was his first attempt?
On New Year's Eve.
Oh, shit. That's some cosmic shit right there.
I know. I knew you were going to bring it up. So 20-year-old Karen Potak, a student at Stevens Point University, was going out to celebrate New Year's with her sister in the Twin City area. They were going out to a bar, as one does on New Year's, off of University Avenue.
Okay.
This is where they spent their time dancing, having a good old time, drinking champagne.
And this is Minneapolis?
Yes.
Okay.
They were at the bar till midnight, when the clock struck 12.
Okay.
And sometime after the clock struck 12, Karen somehow just wandered off without her sister or their friends even noticing she was gone. She walked out alone, not wearing a coat, and still holding a glass of champagne. The temperatures were below freezing. There was snow on the ground at this point. She most likely probably didn't notice how cold it was because of the alcohol in your system.
Sure.
Now, the streets weren't abandoned by any means. It's New Year's Eve, and the streets are bustling with people.
Sure.
Like, they're full.
A big
Everybody's
city.
out there. She happened to start stumbling through a dark alleyway, though.
Okay.
As she stumbled through the alleyway, a man pulls up in his nice, warm car. He notices she's walking without a coat and must be freezing, so he rolls down his window and offers to give her a ride wherever she needs to go. You know, nice gentleman saying, like, oh,
Yeah.
you must be
Are
cold.
You okay? Yeah.
You need a ride? Like, you know.
I promise I'm not weird or whatever.
Puts his glasses
That's what
up
I
and
would
snorts.
say.
So she ends up, you know, saying like, oh, wow, nice warm car. And that was the last time she was seen. At 3 a.m., police received a phone call, which I'm going to play for you, Ryan.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, please. This is an emergency. Please send a squad to Pierce Butler Road, Molenberg Manufacturing Company, machine shop. Please, there's an ambulance too. There's a girl hurt there.
Can you tell me what happened to her?
Just hurry. She's laying on the ground in the back by the railroad tracks, by the edge here. Hurry.
What's the address?
I don't know.
Who are you?
So, Brian, you're probably wondering what was said. I'm just going to read you a transcript of it. So he says, just please, this is an emergency. Please send a squad to Pierce Butler Road, Malberg Manufacturing Company, machine shop. Please send an ambulance too. There's a girl hurt there. Just hurry. She's laying in the ground. So the police are like, sir, like, who are you? And he just clicks, hangs up. So after this call, police and an ambulance head to the machine shop, which nobody was there at night. It's abandoned. It's nighttime. And it's New Year's Eve. If he hadn't called the police, she probably would not have been found alive.
Jeez. Because he wanted to be caught for whatever reason.
So, Karen was found laying in the snow, completely naked, and beaten severely with a tire iron.
The fuck? With a tire iron?
Yep. Her skull was split open and her brain was exposed.
How old was she?
20. Her skull was split open and her brain was exposed, but she was still alive. Officers said it was the worst thing they had seen at the time. Karen was rushed to the hospital and ended up surviving this ordeal.
Whoa. Okay.
However, she had no memory of the attack with the amount of brain damage she endured, which you could say was probably a blessing in disguise.
It's a miracle that she even lived.
Well, why it's a blessing in disguise? She doesn't remember. All that she remembers is the party. She doesn't remember getting attacked.
Damn.
She won't have the trauma.
Good for her.
It wasn't very good for the police because now they don't know who did it. They don't know why. They don't know.
No leads, nothing.
So there were no clues or evidence except for the one phone call that Paul had made. They don't know it's Paul, but I'm going to say Paul throughout my case.
Sure.
So he clearly thought this all out because he had taken the tire iron with him.
But he ventured out into the wilderness with this tire iron.
He took her clothes, he took her ID, he didn't leave any evidence at all. He took everything with him. A few months later, on June 3rd, 1981, 18-year-old Kimberly Compton had just graduated from high school. She was from a small town in Wisconsin with a population less than 1,000 people. She was looking to go to the big city, get a nice job, and meet new people. Make some new friends, tired of the 999 people she knew.
Yeah, she's young, starting her life.
She got on a Greyhound bus to St. Paul, and when she arrived, she got off the bus and put her stuff in a locker, number 750 to be exact, at the bus station. She decided, I'm feeling kind of hungry and peckish, from the long journey, or the long bus ride. And there's a diner across the street. And she goes to this diner, which I believe is called Mickey's Diner, and she orders the special, which is barbecued pork and fries.
Yum. Okay.
A few booths away, Paul Stephani is enjoying a cup of coffee when he notices that Kimberly is all alone. He then goes over and begins to have a conversation with her. She offered him a seat because she was looking to meet new friends, and lo and behold, here may be one now. So he gladly takes the offer and sits down with her.
And she's just being a sweetheart.
She mentioned that she was brand new in town. He then was like, oh, that's interesting, you're new in town. He offered to take her and show her around the sights if she'd like. And, well, she's like, oh, you're going to show me these awesome, like, sights? I would love to. That's what I came here for. Oh, my God, you're, like, a blessing. You know, thank you, you know, for showing me around. So they finish eating their food and drinking their drinks, and they leave together. People in the diner and the employees see this entire interaction. However, after this, nobody saw her again. A few hours later, a group of teens came across the body in a wooded area next to a freeway construction area. It was a woman's body laying naked, face down, and appeared to have been stabbed multiple times with what police believed to be an ice pick.
Oh my gosh, jeez.
So an ice pick was in fact a rare and odd choice of a weapon to use. Like at these times, like most of the times it would be a knife.
Yeah, it does seem oddly specific.
She was found at a very scenic place that overlooks the Mississippi River. So it was assumed he brought her there, promising the great view, and then brutally murdered her. And at the time of her discovery, nobody knew the identity of her because, remember, she had left all her belongings, including her ID, in the bus storage locker.
Sure.
They had no idea who she was, just known her as Jane Doe, until the police received another call.
Oh, you find me? I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody.
Sounds like a fucking woman, dude. What the heck?
So,
That's some straight up Billy from Black Christmas bullshit.
So what?
You feel so fucking bad. He did this thing. Please catch me.
So what he said
Fucking
there,
jacking
and
it.
you heard a censor, obviously.
What?
You heard a censor, like the beat noise. So what he said was, "Will you goddamn find me? I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody."
Dude.
And then he hangs out.
What year was this? This was
1980
1980
to 82. So
This is wild to me. Anyway.
So Paul wants you to believe that he's upset that he stabbed somebody with an ice pick. Mm-hmm. But he probably isn't.
I don't know. Don't you think he's fucking crazy? That's why he's murdering people in the first place. Don't you think he's got this like psycho remorse moments where he's like,
Oh.
fucking,
Ah!
don't you think?
Old man.
Yeah, all baned out. What have I done?
We'll come back to that, Brian. So when they received this phone call, they became suspicious because an ice pick, once again, is a rare weapon to use. And when murdering somebody. And they realized that they have a body that was stabbed with an ice pick, and they hadn't released this information to the public yet. So obviously, this is the guy who did it. They found out he had been calling from a payphone. However, by the time they got to that payphone, he was gone. I mean, obviously, I don't know why they thought he'd be at the payphone still. While the police were off investigating the phone booth, there was an autopsy being done on Kimberly, known as Jane Doe, at this moment in time. When they began, they found a key for a locker at the bus station, which is now how they revealed that her identity was Kimberly Compton.
Dang.
To trace back to Paul, they actually looked at the undigested food in her body, and were actually able to trace it back to the diner because of the specific food she got. The special.
They literally looked at the food.
It was undigested
inside of her.
Yep, because she died with the food undigested, so they were able to tell where the food came from.
What did she eat again?
Barbecued pork and fries.
And so they're like, oh, that place has great fucking barbecued pork and fries.
Well,
she must have eaten
well,
there.
it was the special.
Yeah.
So what other place? No other place in town had it.
But that's what they did. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. In the early 80s.
Yep.
Good job,
there
guys.
actually wasn't DNA back then, I don't believe either. So they go to the diner and they speak to the staff who told them everything that they saw. You know, the conversation, how he offered to take her somewhere, and then they left together. That's all they really saw.
Sure.
They were able to describe Kimberly in full detail, but with Paul, they only had a few details, like his height, maybe how much he weighed, his color, that maybe he had dark hair.
General physique.
They were kind of unsure. So it was found that Paul had stabbed Kimberly with the ice pick 61 times.
Holy moly.
Yeah, that's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But also, before the stabbing, he strangled her with a shoelace.
So he strangles her with a shoelace.
But that didn't kill her.
And stabs her?
So he didn't kill her with the shoelace. He probably put her unconscious and then stabbed her 61 times.
Fucking evil.
2 days later, he makes another call, once again apologizing and admitted to killing Kimberly Compton, mentions her by name and crying about how upset about it he is and can't go to jail.
So dumb. Uh-huh.
Which, I got that for you too.
Job. Sorry, it's the truth.
Don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her. I am so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every night. I can't believe it. It's just like a big dream. I can't think of being locked up. If I get locked up, I'll kill myself. I'd rather kill myself than get locked up. I'll try not to kill anybody else.
So, basically, what he said was, don't talk, just listen. Because you know when you call 911, they go, 911, what's your emergency?
Uh-huh.
Don't talk, just listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for what I did to Compton. I was like, what'd you do to Compton? No, but what I did to Compton, I couldn't help it. I don't know why I stabbed her. I had to stab her. I'm so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every night. I can't believe I did it. Like, it's like a big dream.
Oh, shit.
I can't think of being locked up. I'll kill myself. I'll try not to kill anybody else.
Fuck.
Kill anybody else.
Fucking animal, bro.
I'll,
what the
quote unquote
heck?
try not to kill anybody else.
Yeah, I'll try, guys. Talk to you soon. Love.
So I don't have the audio for this one, but 8 days later he makes another call. This time he's scrutinizing the media because they got the details wrong.
Okay, what did he say?
He just said basically like, you got the facts wrong.
Uh-huh.
This is how many times I stabbed her.
This is what happened.
Yeah.
I counted.
But he's not crying, so...
So he's making progress.
Police end up deciding to release a portion of the 911 calls to the media for the public to listen to see if anyone recognizes the voice. So, a staggering amount of people called in saying that they know that voice. They got about 100 people and interviewed all of them, but it led to nowhere. 2 months later, a guy named Alan Lopez was holding his entire family hostage. He had killed his parents and his sister in a very brutal way.
Okay.
The police were outside the home negotiating to get the surviving family out when Alan announced that he was the one who killed Kimberly Compton.
Dude.
He was eventually arrested and charged with for the family's murder, but was then placed in a mental health facility. The police then went to question him after he admitted to the murder of Kimberly. However, before they had arrived, he had killed himself. On March 19th, 1982, retired Detective Earl Mills returned to duty for 1 day out of retirement to release the case files for the Weepy-Voiced Killer because he wanted to link them to Alan Lopez, thinking that he was responsible for it all just because he admitted to Kimberly's murder. However, when they looked into the day that Kimberly was murdered, Alan was checked into a mental health facility. They actually found that he had received a day pass out for the same day. Police believe that maybe they did have their guy. Maybe it was Alan Lopez. It was not Alan Lopez. We know who it was.
Paul.
Yeah. When they looked into Karen Poltek, they actually found that he was in jail at the time, so he could not have committed that crime, which automatically ruled him out for Kimberly's murder because it was the same guy who called. On August 6th, 1982, a 40-year-old nurse named Barbara Simmons was at the Hexagon Bar in Minneapolis. Bar staff saw her dancing and talking to a man that night. Well, she ended up going to the bar and said to the female waitress something along the lines of, "Man, that guy sure is cute. I hope he's nice since he's giving me a ride home tonight." So the waitress found this off and proceeded to get a good look at the guy she was talking about. And so did the rest of the bar staff that night.
Damn.
They were seen leaving together, and that was the last time she was seen. Then the police received another call.
Horrible.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one. Oh, my safe. I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm sick. I'm going to kill myself, I think.
Where are you?
I'm just going to... If somebody dies with a red shirt on, it's me. I killed both of you. I'm sorry. I'll never make it to heaven.
You want to know what he said in that one? Because you probably didn't understand a word of it, especially in there. It's like...
Yeah, what was he saying?
So, please don't talk, just listen. Again, he says this. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one over in St. Paul. I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm sick. I'm going to kill myself, I think. If someone with a red shirt is found dead, it's me. I've killed more people. I'll never make it to heaven.
Dude, if someone with a red shirt, what?
Dies.
This is some Star Trek. Fucking.
So the next day, the body of Barbara Simmons was found beaten and stabbed over 100 times with an ice pick or screwdriver.
Over 100?
She was thrown into the Mississippi River, but became ensnared in some foliage on the riverbank, and that's how she had washed up.
Okay.
Police then went to the last place she was seen, which was the Hexagon Bar, where the staff told them everything that happened that night and gave them a valid description of Paul. The police showed over 100 mugshots to the female waitress that Barbara had talked to, and eventually she had stopped on a mugshot and said that was him.
Dang.
It was a photo of Paul Michael Stephani.
Dang.
Who had been previously arrested before on an assault and battery charge. They also found that he had been fired from the machine shop that Karen was attacked at a couple of years before. Police then put a 24-hour surveillance on Paul, and on August 21st, the day after the bar investigation, Paul got into his car and the police were following him. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
What? What's that?
You don't know that meme. It's when you're sneaking around the house not trying to be suspicious.
Okay.
It's forget about it. Brian's old, everybody, so he's not gonna understand
I
this.
am, man. The time has come, man. Yeah, I'm just out of touch with the fucking new shit. And what's even more telling about my age is that I just don't give a fuck. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen, Richard. It's coming. I remember being in my late 20s,
my man's
bro.
younger than me, so I'll be always filled in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, I got kids. I got a 13-year-old going like, "Dad, don't you know?" Like all the time.
Oh yeah, I got Bonnie and Jess. Bonnie comes up to.
Oh,
hold on,
Richard.
Hold on. Hold on. I was walking into where Ian works. Like a few weeks ago, and Ian comes out of nowhere and just walks up to Bonnie and goes, and she goes, what the Sigma? She's 5 years old.
She's 5 years old. Dude. My kids went through a whole phase saying that shit. Oh, it's so painful
like, you did
to
not
hear.
Just say that to me.
Of course. Why are you saying this right now? Please stop.
Like, where'd you get that from? I lost it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking on all of us, ladies and gentlemen. Don't ever forget it.
So the police are following him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they somehow lose him. Mm-hmm. He went into Minneapolis and went to a local spot where you could pick up sex workers and picked up 19-year-old Denise Williams. They negotiated upon $100 for whatever acts would occur. He then took her back to his apartment where they did said acts and then offered her a ride home back to where he picked her up. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, free ride. I don't have to walk or get a cab or...
Yeah.
Wow, what a nice John, right? She began to feel uneasy when he started to go the wrong way and began to talk about all his sexual fantasies. He then drives onto a pitch black road with no streetlights, in which Denise immediately was like, no, this is not okay. This is a dark street. Where are we going? You need to turn around right now. You need to take me back to where it was. And he replied with, don't worry, I'm taking a shortcut. She began to look around the car, like, what am I going to do if something happens, right? Looks around the car and she notices a glass bottle on the floorboard. So Paul then parks the car and turns it off. She's like, no, demanded that he take her back to where he found her. He replies with, ass, grass, or cash. Nobody rides for free.
Say that again.
I can't say it right.
He said what?
He replied, ass, grass, or cash. Nobody rides for free.
What a positive outlook.
Which, by the way, he already paid cash. She already paid cash.
He literally already paid.
Now he wants his money back.
What the heck? He's like, bitch, I give you a ride.
Well,
wow, okay.
He tries to grab her hand, but Denise immediately tries to get out of the car. This makes Paul very angry. He turns and stabs her in the stomach with a screwdriver. She grabs the bottle off the floor and smashes it over his head.
Fucking.
And just go BAM!
Right on.
Right over the head, right?
Right on. Mm-hmm.
So there's blood everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pouring out of his head. But Denise's, there's barely any blood coming out. So, fun fact about this, Brian. A puncture wound doesn't bleed out as much. Like, if you got smashed over the head, your head would start bleeding. Mm-hmm. But if you get stabbed, you're bleeding inside. It's not coming out.
Compared to a head wound.
Yes.
Where you bleed a lot.
So you're bleeding internally.
Okay. All right.
So after she smashes him and he's bleeding everywhere, he yells at her in a high-pitched voice.
You're just like the rest of those broads!
Yeah.
What a puss. Why? Like, you're
So now-
fucking
now-
fighting back
now-
while I'm trying to murder you,
Now
you
we see
cunt.
he seems like he has a problem with women.
Uh-huh. No, what? No. What?
Yeah.
No. Are you sure?
Aggressive.
Paul?
Yeah.
Not Paul.
No. Brian? Not Brian. You know?
Hell no. I love women. All of them. Such an asshole.
Eventually,
Anyway, go ahead.
she gets the car door open, but she falls out. And Paul falls out on top of her and is continuously stabbing her with a screwdriver. Mm-hmm. She's screaming at the top of her lungs. And then she ends up like, this isn't working, you know? So she plays possum.
Fucked up.
He's still stabbing her.
So she's like enduring the physical assault and trying to pretend to be dead.
So he stop, but he doesn't stop because he's like in the moment. He's raging.
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Someone nearby, someone who lives nearby, Doug Panning, heard Denise's screams and runs out of his house to see Paul stabbing Denise repeatedly. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Runs out of his house and sees Paul.
Just start the whole thing over.
Oh my God! Someone who lives nearby, Doug Panning, heard Denise's screams and runs out of his house to see Paul stabbing Denise repeatedly. I fucking hate you. I can't say the fucking
Richard,
word.
you can do it, dude.
Repeatedly.
Just start this sentence.
I gotta get the word right. If I don't get the word right, then it's not gonna matter.
Just take a breath and start the sentence over. You got it, dude. You can do it.
Okay.
You can do it.
Someone who lives nearby, Doug Panning, heard Denise's screams and runs out of his house to see Paul stabbing Denise repeatedly. I can't say the word.
Richard.
Okay, you know what? Hold on.
This is
Stop.
insane.
Stop.
Repeatedly, Richard.
Repeatedly.
Repeatedly. That's all it is.
You know what?
You can do
know
it.
What? No, someone who lives nearby, Doug Panning, heard Denise's screams and runs out of his house to see Paul stabbing Denise over and over again. He runs over to them and
he's like, I'm not saying this word. I'm going to say something else. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So he stabs them over and over again. Okay.
He runs.
Sorry. Okay. All right.
He runs over to them and grabs Paul, attempting to get him to stop. Mm-hmm. Paul began to lash out at Doug with a screwdriver. Mm-hmm. So then Doug Panning then runs back into his home and calls the police. At this point, Paul most likely knew the police were on their way, and he was pretty sure he'd killed Denise, so he got in his car and took off. Doug then ran out to comfort Denise until the police and ambulance arrived.
Wow.
Denise had stab wounds on her lower right chest and upper right abdomen.
Oh my gosh.
And on the right side of her head. Mm-hmm. She had a punctured lung and liver.
Fuck.
She was stabbed at least 15 times. Mm-hmm. But she did survive after receiving emergency surgery. The fourth and final call that came in that night was Paul calling for an ambulance for himself, basically saying, I was beaten and I'm bleeding and cut up, and it was from an attempted robbery.
Wait, what? He called saying, I'm all fucked up.
But he did it in his weepy voice.
Somebody tried to rob me, or I tried to rob someone else?
Tried to rob him. And so police really realized that this is the Weepy-Voiced Killer. And it's like, okay, send him into the hospital. So they brought him to the hospital. At the same time, Denise was giving her statement on what had happened to the police. Mm-hmm. describing the wounds she inflicted upon her attacker, which happened to be an exact match for the wounds that Paul Stephani had when he arrived at the hospital. Denise was shown a photo lineup and immediately picks out Paul Stephani, and he's arrested for her attempted murder. He's brought in for questioning, and they bring out the Weepy-Voiced Killer case file and show it to him, especially the photos of the victims. Like, do you know this girl? Paul gets angry, like, switches, like, he was, like, all cooperative, and then he suddenly, when the photos come out, he gets angry.
What, like, got defensive? Or?
Yeah, and gets up and says, "You're not going to pin them on me."
Guilty much or what?
His voice changed immediately to the voice he used on the calls, and police knew they had the guy. They then charged him with Barbara's murder. On the other two cases, though, they were in St. Paul, which is a different areas, so different
districts,
precincts.
I guess. Yeah. Jurisdictions.
Jurisdiction. That's it. I even have it written down here. So. So they had to wait for them to agree to convict him of those murders as well. Well, St. Paul didn't think they had enough evidence. How did they not have enough evidence, Brian? They literally have him calling in the voice that he uses. So the trial was on February of 1985. It lasted 6 weeks, and he pled not guilty to the attempted murder and murder.
Of course.
His sister, ex-wife, and a woman he once lived with as a roommate were all called to the stand to listen to the 911 recordings.
Damn. Is this him?
Well, they all said that was definitely Paul.
Whoa.
And in fact, his sister actually took off the headphones, laid her head down, and cried.
Dude, that's fucking so sad. That's horrible.
He was found guilty of attempted murder and second-degree murder. He received 58 years in prison, 18 years for Denise's attempted murder, and 40 for Barbara's murder. So a total of 58.
Sure.
So in 1997, the year after I was born, you were 11, 10.
Yep.
12 years into his sentence, Paul was diagnosed with terminal skin cancer. And he then decided he would confess to the crimes of Karen and Kimberly in exchange for a picture of his mother's headstone.
That's what
Not
he
a picture
wanted.
of his mother. So during his confession, he said he had just snapped. And he was asked, "How many times did you hit Karen with the tire iron?" He responds with, "Oh, God, I must have hit her with like 30 times. 30 times with the tire iron." They asked, "Were you trying to poke or stab her with the tire iron?" And he said, "No, I don't think I was trying to poke or stab her with her. I hit her mainly in the head and jaw and cheek."
It was all hatred.
I think it was only about 10 times in, and then I realized, wow, she must really be hurting. And then I continued.
Fucking psychopath.
With Kimberly, he admitted that he had took her to the river to see a nice view, and even told her that she would have something nice to tell her parents about.
Wait, what? In heaven? Or what?
Yeah, you're dead. Yeah.
What an
He
asshole.
then walked with her to the river with a knife in his hand, and then he stabbed her with it. He said that even he was sad afterwards, and that's what made him go to the payphone and call the police, because he actually wanted to help her. He said that's when his mind began to clear up and ask himself, "What are you doing? You had a chance to make a new friend. You like making new friends." He's trying to get the insanity claim. The police are like, "Okay, well, thank you for all the evidence and everything." And they're getting up to leave. And right before the interview was over, he says, "Oh, wait a minute. By the way, there's another one you don't know about." And they said, "Excuse me?" Like, what?
Sure.
And then he goes, "Yeah, it happened right between Kimberly and Barbara." He couldn't give her name because he didn't know it. But he drowned her in a bathtub in her own apartment.
So it must have been that typical sociopathic, murderous fella bullshit where they're super charming, right?
Yep.
Because he keeps luring in all these young women.
I mean, I'll show you a picture of him, Brian.
Yeah, but looks aren't everything.
He drowned her in a bathtub in her own apartment. He remembered it was in Ramsey County. And so the police then called the medical examiner asking if any drownings that happened recently, and they found out it was Kathleen Greening, who was only 33 years old. At the time, police found the death suspicious and were actually looking at the estranged husband as the suspect, but nothing stuck to him. The murder happened July 21st, 1982. Kathleen and her friend were planning a trip, and when her friend came to pick her up that day, that's when she was discovered face up in her bathtub dead. They asked, like, how did you hold her head underwater? And he goes, no, I just pushed both shoulders down and held it down that way. Like,
Very matter of fact.
I'm dying of cancer. What are you gonna do to me now?
Yeah.
The weird part about this crime, it's a different MO, really, because he never does a phone call with this one. Or did the phone call with this one.
It's just something he did.
But they did find an address book during the investigation that had Paul Stephani written down in it.
Wow.
With his phone number. So
Okay.
they had met at some point. Paul said that he would always go to church after committing these acts and sit in the back and cry. He would say that mother would always say, if something hurts you, go to God. Paul died of skin cancer at the age of 53 on June 12th, 1998. And Brian, that is the case of the Weepy-Voiced Killer. And that was Real Horrors. Take it away, Brian.
Oh, thanks, Richard. Welcome to Horror Reels, where we review. Welcome to Horror Reels, where we... See, now that I feel where you're at.
How does it feel?
Yeah, now that I'm in the driver's seat, I know what you're going through. Welcome to Horror Reels, where we conduct deep dive reviews of horror films and TV shows. The film that we are covering today is a segment from the newest installment in the VHS franchise called VHS Beyond.
Wah-wee-wah.
It's so good. It's so good. It's called Stork. It's directed by Jordan Downey. He is the mastermind behind this small franchise of films called Thanksgiving. They're about, I believe, like a zombie mutated turkey that like fucking kills people.
It's like
and
Sharknado
like,
and
yes, but it's like
zombievers.
Yeah, but it's very self-aware, and I've never seen one of them, but I've seen footage and stuff. It's very self-aware and it's very comedic. So he directed those movies. He also interned under Wes Craven, the director of Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, The Hills Have Eyes. He interned under him while he was in college, so pretty cool. The VHS franchise itself was created by Brad Miska, who is also a founder of the horror media website Bloody Disgusting. As of this recording, the VHS franchise boasts 7 films, 2 spin-offs, a mini-series, and a reported 8th film on the way.
The website Bloody Disgusting, is that like the English thing? Where it's
That's
like,
what I've always assumed.
well, are these people English, or are they from America, or are they...
I think they're American. But from my perspective, I put this thing on, and every time I jump on bloodydisgusting.com, in my mind, I hear a little English guy and a little jingle. I'm not even joking, Richard. And I hear, bloodydisgusting.com every fucking time I jump on this website.
You're a psychopath.
I 150% am. That's why we're such good friends, Richard, because you know what you're in for, bro. I'm just...
Yep, you're a psychopath, and I cover that.
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. This franchise was founded by a founder of Bloody Disgusting, Brad Miska. What makes the VHS franchise a lot of fun is that it combines the anthology format, like Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone, with found footage horror. So every segment is an isolated story, but it's found footage. Okay? Fucking cool. Like every anthology series, Tales from the Crypt and Twilight Zone included, the franchise has some hits and a large number of misses. However, when it hits, it really fucking hits. And this franchise sports maybe some of the best horror shorts ever created. Today's entry, Stork, is a lot of fun and is easily my favorite of the entire series. And as always, this is the Bone Barrel Podcast, and these cuts are heavily spoiled. So we get some grainy VHS static before we cut open in the back seat of a patrol unit on the go, and our POV is from the perspective of Officer Segura's camera. Officer Segura is played by Philip Andre Bateo, and this is the main perspective throughout the short. Up front in the driver's seat is Sergeant Broom, played by Tom Hallam, who drives us through a brightly lit city tunnel, and it's nighttime. Officer Segura looks down at a file next to him in the back seat labeled with the acronym Warden, W-A-R-D-E-N, and begins flipping through the file, revealing photos and information on numerous members of what looks like some sort of special ops team. all law enforcement. Sergeant Broom up front informs Segura that they've arrived before parking the patrol unit and bringing it to a halt. We see Segura's perspective exit the back of the patrol unit. Again, this whole thing is found footage.
Did you say Broom, like Broom?
Yeah, Sergeant Broom.
I'm just imagining like it's one of the brooms from Fantasia.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I remember that. I remember renting that movie with my dad as a kid.
I've only seen the beginning of that movie. I've never actually fully seen it.
See, me too. I remember him telling me it's kind of not really entertaining, and I was like, no, let's get it. So we rented it on VHS. We brought it home, and I fucking passed out. I was a little guy. Yeah, absolutely. No, Broom, actually, do you happen to know who Fred Armisen is?
No.
Fred Armisen was on Saturday Night Live. He also was one of the two leads in that show Portlandia. He's been in a number
What did he do on Saturday Night Live? Like,
did you ever see that skit? Kenan Thompson led it. It was called "What's Up with That?" And
oh God,
the host. It was Kenan Thompson.
Yes,
he had the Jerry curl.
Yes,
and he would be interviewing.
What's up with that?
Yeah, he would be interviewing guests, and they would start. You know, they would begin talking like Sam Jackson, and the fucking beat would come on. And Kenan would start jamming, and then he'd start fucking singing and interrupt them, right? Okay, so Fred Armisen was the dude on the sax, the Kenny G looking motherfucker, and he'd have the sax, and he'd be going back and forth. Sergeant Broom looks 150% like a Fred Armisen.
I thought you were tell me that is Fred Armisen.
No, but it certainly looks like him to those who are in the know. Sergeant Broom, the Fred Armisen lookalike, informs Officer Segura that they've arrived before bringing the patrol unit to a halt, and we see Segura's perspective exit the back of the patrol unit, and he follows Broom through a dimly lit garage, and we pass by another parked unit that reads NYPD, as Sergeant Broom tells Segura to stay close and document everything before passing through a doorway into another dimly lit steel and concrete room. And Sergeant Broom tells Officer Segura to keep his eyes open and keep his mouth shut. And they continue walking as Broom says that this team is Segura's family now, and that Segura needs to obey orders and do what they say. And so we're getting the idea that Segura, the camera guy, is the newest member of this special ops team, Warden. They enter a locked back room where Segura checks himself in the mirror, and he's filming himself, and he looks nervous and wide-eyed, and he looks way in over his head. Sergeant Broom tells him to look alive before sliding this huge steel door open, and it reveals a large and dimly lit meeting room. There's a table in the center of the room, and it's cluttered with numerous types of guns and ammunition and beer, and fucking knives, playing cards, bottles of liquor, boxes of Chinese food just scattered about. Surrounding the table are four members of Warden. You've got Aubert, played by James C. Burns. You've got Bennett, the only lady of the team, played by Jolene Anderson. You've got Ivy, played by Tyler Joseph Andrews, and you've got E.T. I'm going to butcher this, but E.T. is played by Vas Provatakis. Totally butchered that, but it is what it is. So E.T. is played by Vas Provatakis, who watches silently as Sergeant Broom introduces the room to the new guy, Segura, the new recruit. And we cut to Bennett, the gal, fidgeting with and staring into a small body cam before she offers it to E.T., right? E.T. looks pissed and he impatiently waves her away. So Sergeant Broom is standing at a pinup board next to the table, and it's covered with a map of the local area and news articles and documents and numerous pictures of infants and missing child bulletins. And he tells the group that there is good news and bad news. He explains the bad news is that another infant was kidnapped last night, and this makes 17 in 3 months. The good news is that a witness followed the kidnapper, and now they have a location, and they're gonna head out there tonight. And he tells the group that tonight is a chance to put an end to this, right? E.T., the angry guy, suddenly marches up to the pinup board. With his fucking arms out. I totally, absolutely. E.T. suddenly marches up to the pinup board, and he rips a picture of an infant down. And he's furiously asking who put this picture up. And Bennett is all apologies, and she says that she was only trying to be thorough. And so we're learning that E.T.'s child was one of the children abducted one of the 17 kids. That's why he's so angry. And so
Okay.
so Ivy is sitting all cool, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he tells E.T. to relax and take a shot. And E.T. storms off all pissed. Aubert is a Bill Moseley-looking motherfucker through and through.
My God.
If you've ever seen, like, the original cut of Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, it's a long shot, but Bill Moseley plays a security guard in that movie.
Oh,
and,
yeah, I know.
Okay, and that's the vibe
that says, it's okay, Michael, blah, 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 and they just, like, killing him or whatever because he's his friend.
No, that's Danny Trejo.
What?
Danny Trejo, like from Machete.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of. It was a
Bro,
black
don't
guy.
try
It was
to
not
tell me
Dano who
about
Danny
Rob
Trejo
Zombie's
is.
Halloween, bro. He's in it, bro. He's the guy.
Well,
He's like, no, Michael, I was good to you, and fucking Michael murders him. Before that, in the theatrical
Danny Trejo?
cut, 100%. I was good to you, Mikey, and he's fucking drowning him, and then slams the TV on his head. Not him, but in the theatrical cut, not the unrated director's cut with the fucking rape scene. The theatrical
Jesus
cut,
Christ.
yeah, dude. It's a whole thing. I'm not gonna go into it, but in the theatrical cut of Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, there is a scene where Michael is supposed to be escorted, I believe, out of the asylum. And there's a group of security guards meeting together and, like, discussing, how, they got to do this in a few minutes. Bill Moseley is one of the security guards. He was in House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, if you've ever seen that.
I know The Devil's Rejects.
Okay, so he's Otis Firefly, the guy with the long hair and the beard.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so imagine the beard trimmed up and just
funny,
regular
I've seen
hair.
that movie, like, once or twice, and I still don't understand the movie. Like, I don't know, I missed something completely.
It's a good one.
Or is it, like, The Devil's Rejects is a sequel to The House of a Thousand Corpses?
But they're, like, wildly different.
But they're sequels, right?
They're in the same.
Like, do you have to
continuity.
watch the first one to understand the second one?
Maybe not necessarily. I mean, I was a fan of it. I saw House of a Thousand Corpses in theaters, and I remember feeling so dirty afterwards. I remember going home, and me and my sister and my stepbrother were all in his little, like, Honda Civic hatchback, and I was in the back seat, and we were all just like, ugh, like, we all just felt so grimy and gross. House of a Thousand Corpses is like circus, like Texas Chainsaw horror, and Devil's Rejects is like gritty Western. What are we saying? Why did we get on this?
I don't know.
Oh, fucking A. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But both those movies are great. Bill Moseley does. So he was Otis Driftwood.
Yes.
In those movies. And so he's the guy with the hair, and he's the guy. Aubert is totally bringing Bill Moseley vibes to the table. And everybody's in that meeting room, and he gets huffy with Segura, the new guy, the camera guy. And he's going, what the fuck are you looking at? Before he approaches Sergeant Broom. And Aubert, the Bill Moseley cosplayer, he's telling Sergeant Broom that E.T., the dad, has become a liability. And Sergeant Broom says that he's going to handle it. Aubert wants to know why the fuck they need a camera guy now. And so we cut to this faraway shot, Segura's shooting of Sergeant Broom addressing E.T., and Broom is telling him that he needs to get his shit together or get stepping. And E.T. is clutching the photo from the pinup board of his child, and he tells Broom that there's no way they're keeping him out of this. And Sergeant Broom understands, and he asks E.T. if he's good, and E.T. doesn't answer. He only looks at him. And so we cut to the members of Warden all standing around the table, locking and loading, preparing for war, choking down Chinese food. Fucking savages, okay? And so Aubert approaches Segura, teething a cigar, and he says, "Hey, body bag." And
Oh my God.
and he's clutching a handful of shotgun shells. Yeah, because he's like, you're clearly going to fucking die, you know? Hey, body bag. And he's clutching this huge mound of shotgun shells in his hand, and he shoves them into Segura's coat pockets and tells him that now he's an ammo bag. And he laughs, smiling through his cigar. So our group loads up their gear, duffel bags and all, and they head out. We cut to Segura's perspective entering the back of a large white van, and it's stripped bare save for 2 steel benches and a single red bulb in the ceiling, followed by the other members of Warden. E.T. is already in there. He's already strapped in. He's ready for battle. He's taking large swigs from a bottle of booze. He's ready to avenge the apparent death of his child. And so they shut the doors, and we get a static cut to black. And so we cut to Segura's perspective in the back of the van, and he sits opposite E.T., who's got a mile-long stare at the floor. And on a side note, his name tag on his vest reads J. Ellis Tate, so that's what the E.T. stands for, but it's funny because his initials spelled Jet, and this is a sci-fi themed movie. I don't know if that has any meaning or whatever, but his initials are Jet. So Segura offers him a piece of gun, and E.T. just kind of stares at him. Ivy, the dark-complected fella, is sitting next to E.T. He leans in, and he's staring down Segura while addressing the leadership up front, and he says, "Sarge, this rookie's back here fucking blowing it." Bennett, the gal who sits next to Segura, the cameraman, she quietly explains that E.T.'s child was one of the 17 infants abducted, and she tells him to mind his own business and to keep the camera rolling and he'll be all right. So we cut to Segura's perspective once more. He's the main perspective in this story, this camera guy. They all have body cams for the most part, but Segura is the main perspective, him filming this. That's his whole business being here as he's filming. We cut to his perspective, Segura's once more, and Sergeant Broom is parking the van, and we see a huge, old, crumbling, dilapidated house way off in the dark. And it's almost grand how big it is. And it looks like it's 3 to 4 stories easily.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it's huge. Big, gorgeous, old, beautiful house.
Okay. Yep.
Easily 3 to 4 stories.
The house in the Notebook.
I don't remember the
Oh,
Notebook.
my God.
I saw it once with an ex, and I called the ending like 10 minutes into the movie.
I did too.
Yeah, for sure. But she loved that shit, and I was, trying to be a good fella. Anyway, so they see the big-ass house from the Notebook, and they're looking through the windshield of the van, right? And they see a shadowed figure shuffling in front of the house, and it's illuminated by a yellow safety vest that it's wearing. And we zoom in to see
that's just the Mexican worker. Don't leave him alone.
Dude, for sure. It's the gardener,
He's
bro.
the gardener.
Jose's just trying to take care of the place. That's his job.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can't do the voice. Yes, sir. Do you need water here,
Yes,
sir?
I will. Yes, see, I will. I will trim the bushes.
So they see this guy, and he's illuminated. He's wearing a yellow safety vest, and we zoom in to see the figure also wears a hard hat, and he's got long, shaggy hair hanging out, and he carries a chainsaw. He looks like a lumber worker of some sort, and the figure turns its head, and we see that its eyes are all white, and the face appears ghoulish. In the dark, like with the teeth and the rot. Bennett, the gal, asks, "What is that?" And Aubert pipes in, "Sarge, you said they followed a guy to the location. That doesn't just look like a fucking guy." And Sarge turns and tells the group, "Whatever it is, we kill it." And so we cut to our crew jumping out of the van, suiting up, locking in, just fucking true grit badass motherfuckers. And then we cut to a nice cool guy shot of 5 of the 6 members of Warden, save for Segura, who's filming, stopping before the face of the house and staring it down. This glamour shot. Now, this short, Stork, is based off of an art piece. This art piece, it's a series of photographs by an artist named Oleg Vidayinka. I may have butchered that. It's a series of 16 photographic images he created. These 16 images document this entire story of Stork from beginning to end. So everything we've seen and everything still to come. So the director of this short, he replicated every one of those 16 images in this short. And this shot of the 5 members of Warden standing before this looming house in the middle of the night, that was one of the original images. We cut to the officers approaching the front porch of the home. They've got their guns and flashlights drawn. Segura follows behind, and he's filming. Ivy and E.T. peer through the front windows and search the dark of the home before E.T. says, "Fuck this," and he kicks the front door in, and he marches inside. And the other members of the team are like, "Dude, what the fuck?" before following him inside. And inside is what looks like was once a beautiful home, but now lies in shambles. The set design is fantastic. There's crooked pictures lining the walls, there's peeling paint and dust and rot, and there's a bike tossed off somewhere. It looks great, and surprisingly, there's electricity, but it's dimly lit. So the team stands in a large foyer before an old wooden staircase leading up into the dark of the second story. There's a thin rope with numerous glass bottles and tin cans hanging from the ceiling in the center of the foyer. The crew searches the dark around them, and they're finding nothing. E.T. sees the rope, and he angrily smacks it with his handgun. And so it's clunking, right? And immediately from the second floor, there's this zombie-like ghoul woman of some sort, and she comes screeching and snarling down the stairs. So this rope of bottles and cans was almost like an alarm system of sorts. And E.T. fucking, being an asshole, smacked it and alarmed them. So she comes running down, but E.T. and Sergeant Broom make quick work of her, and she tumbles to the bottom of the stairs dead. They shoot this bitch down.
General Ortega?
Yeah, 150%. Done. Now, suddenly, all throughout the house, above and around them, we hear sudden, numerous running footsteps and clattering and snarling. And Sarge, he's got a shotgun in hand, and he tells everyone to get ready. And a ghoul comes running from some back room, and Sarge smokes him as more pour in from all directions, wildly shrieking. So we cut between Segura's point of view and numerous body cams as the team guns the undead freaks down, and it's shotguns and pistols and assault rifles. It's so awesome. One ghoul jumps on Segura, the camera guy. He's filming, he's got no weapons, and this monstrosity's face is in the camera, and its face and hair are all matted with blood and sweat, and it's snarling, and the teeth are rotted. The practical effects are great. Aubert, the Bill Moseley cosplayer, he pulls the ghoul off of Segura and guns it down. In a split second, E.T. takes off further into the house without everybody. Again, he's out for vengeance. Sergeant Broom shouts after him before telling Bennett and Aubert to follow him. They follow suit, and Segura the camera guy begins to follow as well, but Sergeant Broom tells him, "Nah, you kid, you stay with me." And so Segura now follows Sergeant Broom, and he's documenting everything, right? Sergeant Broom and Segura, filming behind him, they enter a living room where Ivy is gunning down one of the undead who sits leaning back on a couch. And this poor guy was just trying to watch Beavis and Butthead, and he gets fucking rained on. A second fiend suddenly jumps from a nearby doorway and nearly overcomes Sergeant Broom before he abruptly guns it down with his shotgun. Now behind him, Ivory is firing through a doorway into another room, and we hear more snarling and growling. Sergeant Broom and Segura, the camera guy, follow behind, and the three of them pass through a small bathroom. Segura turns the camera to see another ghoul shot down and fallen in the tub. And it looks like a mailman. There's blood splattered all over the tiles. They exit the other end of the bathroom into what looks like a small office where Sergeant Broom fires on another ghoul, this one looking like a mechanic or a priest, maybe. Behind them, E.T. comes crashing through a doorway, and he's wrestling another fiend against a wall before pushing himself off. And now E.T., Sergeant Broom, and Ivy all fucking mow this thing down, and it falls, spilling some books with it. So E.T. quickly exits into the next room, and the others follow. Segura, the camera guy, follows, and he's turning the camera behind him, and he spots one of the fallen ghouls that they gunned down, now crawling along the floor. And he's like, what the fuck? And he keeps going with the group. He turns back just in time to see another ghoul gunned down, sent tumbling into a piano. And so now... yeah, and it's like, and it fucking like, it bashes into the keys. It's awesome. So we're now in another living area with multiple doorways. We've got Bennett the Gal and Aubert, the Bill Moseley cosplayer, and they enter, informing Sergeant Broom, our Fred Armisen lookalike, that they lost E.T., the dad. Sergeant Broom sends Aubert to find E.T., while the rest follow the sergeant. We enter a green and blue lit kitchen, very Saw vibes, as Bennett pulls a pistol and she headshots an injured ghoul on the floor. The kitchen is very sickly looking, like a hospital.
I'm just gonna interrupt you real quick. I don't know why, but I'm starting to feel like these aren't ghouls, and but they're seeing them as these ghouls.
So wait, explain again. I want to understand.
Like, pretend you're one of the people gunning these people down, right? Mm-hmm. You're infected, and it's making you see the normal people.
Yeah,
as
I like
infected,
that.
But they're not infected at all. They're just like, what are you doing in my house?
Yeah, sure.
And just boom.
The good guys are really the protagonists, are really the antagonists.
Yeah,
that's fucking cool. I like that.
Some movies do that, and so I'm like,
no, that would be cool, but no, we don't go that deep. I love this story because it's total Resident Evil vibes.
Oh, okay.
Segura turns his camera and he sees another ghoul getting gunned down into the room that he's entering, and it gets sent tumbling into a piano. We're now in this living area, and it's got multiple doorways, and Bennett and Aubert enter, and they inform Sergeant Broom that they lost E.T. So this dad that's out for vengeance fucking took off without his team, and he's fucking in the house somewhere. Broom sends Aubert. He says, you go find E.T. Aubert takes off, and the others follow the sergeant. And so we enter that green and blue kitchen, total Saw vibes. Bennett pulls a pistol and headshots an injured ghoul on the floor. The kitchen is very sickly, looking like a hospital. And there's a large refrigerator laying on its side in the middle of the room, and the doors are open. It's on black and white tile. There's old food and dishes scattered about. It's fucking disgusting. Ivy and Sergeant Broom find a very narrow staircase around the corner in the kitchen, as we suddenly hear footsteps quickly approaching, and we turn just in time to see another one of these monstrosities come jumping off of a table before they quickly gun it down. And the team exits as Segura, the camera guy, momentarily stays behind to film the kitchen, and he documents the countertops are covered with blood-soaked rags and utensils and hardware, and the refrigerator on the floor has numerous glass jars, some labeled food, knocked over and broken, and they're spilling rotten gunk out. Disgusting. Segura then exits, and he's separated from the team now, and he yells for them to wait up. Segura passes through a small room into a hallway where he spots the team far off in another room. He can see them through a couple of doorways in another room. And he begins to call for them before that lumberman ghoul from outside suddenly comes charging through the hallway, and he's wildly swinging and revving the chainsaw. It spots Segura, and it comes charging, and Segura ducks out and heads back the way he came, and he enters a small room before shutting the door just in time. And he turns and sprints for the kitchen, and he trips and sends the camera sprawling on the floor, and the camera slides and halts before a decapitated ghoul's head. Its white eyes are staring blankly, and its teeth are stuck in a snarl. And off camera, we hear Segura quickly getting to his feet. He grabs the camera, and he runs through the kitchen to a closed doorway before another ghoul comes charging through the doorway. Segura has a change of heart. He turns for the narrow stairway off in the side of the kitchen, and he sprints up, and he's telling himself, you gotta be fucking kidding me, running up. And he stops momentarily at the top of the stairs and quickly looking back down, and we can hear a chainsaw approaching. And Segura's totally alone, and he turns back and heads up and into the next room, and he's now on the second story, and it looks like an attic or a loft of some sort. And Segura finds some large crates, these large wooden crates, and he ducks behind them, and he turns the camera on himself, and he's sweaty and panicking, and he's fumbling along the camera until he turns off the light. And he turns the camera back, and the light is off now, and he's peering through the crates as the lumberman enters with his chainsaw, and it's quietly growling, and the lumberman slowly paces along, and he's searching and quietly growling to himself, and Segura is really struggling to quiet his own breathing. And after a moment, the lumberman ghoul turns and exits the way it came in, and Segura rises and comes out from behind the crates and into the attic. There's discarded lumber and chairs and rugs strewn about, and off against a far wall stands a small shrine with candles lit at its feet. And Segura slowly approaches the shrine, and it's a statue, and it's held up by a crucifix upon a small table. And the statue looks like it's made up of differing sizes of sticks and twigs and small branches, and they're all fastened together with twine.
So, Brian, that wouldn't be a statue, that's an effigy.
What now?
An effigy.
What's an effigy?
So normally, so you see, Blair Witch and stuff like that?
Yes.
That looks like the little dolls that are standing on sticks?
Yes.
It's an effigy. That's an effigy.
But if the Blair Witch effigies are 2D, this shit is 3D. It's intricate. It's a figure.
I know, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying the things that are hanging in the woods, hanging.
Uh-huh.
Like a voodoo doll almost. Kind of, but they're on sticks. That's called an effigy. It's supposed to be something that represents the power or...
Yes.
Or curse.
It's clearly like this thing that they sit and bow at or whatever. Exactly. And so it's made up of all these sticks and twigs and small branches, and it's fastened together with twine, and it resembles some sort of monstrous and long-limbed bird-like creature. And whatever it is, it's not good. And so Segura quickly documents it with the camera before hearing gunfire downstairs, and he exits out the opposite end of the attic and down some stairs. And Segura turns a corner, and he comes to a stairwell, and it's the same stairwell that leads directly down into the main foyer. And he spots our team gunning down the last of some ghouls, and they turn to him, and he yells, "Guys, I'm okay!" And Aubert tells him to get his ass down here as the lumberman suddenly comes sprawling and swinging through the foyer downstairs, chainsaw blaring, and the guys downstairs narrowly dodge his blows as he stumbles through into the next room, into a living area with a fireplace. And so now it's a showdown. The team gun down the lumberman before E.T. comes charging in, the dad, and he throws himself on top of the lumberman, on top of the fallen ghoul, and he stabs it repeatedly and over in the chest, and he's screaming and yelling, and everyone watches on as he does so until he stops, and they all look a little disturbed. E.T. turns to the team, and now he's soaked with blood. Sergeant Broom tells everyone to reload, and he instructs Bennett to check right, and she confirms, and Sarge asks if anyone is hurt, and no one is. He tells Aubert to check on E.T., who sits down on a couch nearby, and he's blood-soaked and breathless. Aubert gets down on eye level with E.T., and he tells him to look at him, and E.T. blankly does. Aubert tells him he did good and begins cleaning him up. Bennett inspects a fallen ghoul and tells everyone to check it. Aubert kneels down, and he notices a small bandage in the center of the forehead. Every one of the ghouls has it. Same place. A bandage in the center of the forehead. And there's a sudden loud clattering upstairs, and the team quickly prepares, heading up. Aubert stops Segura, the camera guy, and fishes shotgun shells out of Segura's pocket, and he loads up his gun. And far away, we hear the cry of a baby. E.T., the dad, yells, "Riley!" before he runs past his team and up the stairs into the dark. Ivy tries to chase after him, but Sergeant Broom holds him back, and he says that E.T. is going to get himself killed, and if we do what he did, then we'll all die. So Broom and Ivy lead the team up the stairs and into the dark, with Aubert, Bennett, and Segura, the cameraman, following behind. They come to the top of the stairs and into a small hallway where numerous doors are boarded up and locked, and they ponder what the hell these freaks want with babies anyway. And the team hears a clattering in a room nearby, and they exit through a doorway, passing through a couple of rooms. They note a small stairway leading up into a third floor, but it's blockaded with lumber. And so the team follows Sergeant Broom through a doorway, and they spot a large ghoul passing by a couple of rooms away. What your tribe would call a bear, Richard. Just big.
Large cry.
just a big boy. Well, like Ian, frankly, actually. Just a big fucking tall dude. Just a big dude, right? So they see this big dude walking by.
Shit house. Like,
Yeah. This guy is like chubby though. Ian's not chubby. He's just huge. But this guy is huge and chubby. They see him passing by a doorway, and they slowly make their way towards him, and they follow him. They follow behind him. They creep around a corner into another hallway, and this one is lined in plastic along the walls. And as they enter, a door at the end of the hall shuts where that ghoul has exited. And the team approaches the door, and now it's locked. So they find another room nearby, a child's bedroom, littered with the rubble of toys and books and drawings and old furniture. And Bennett, the gal, spots a hole in the roof, revealing a dark and star-filled night sky. The team spots what looks like some sort of meteor below the hole in the ceiling, and they deduce that the creatures must somehow be connected to it. And they note that the meteor is cracked open, and it looks like something crawled out. The big bear ghoul comes stumbling in behind them, and there's black blood spilling from its mouth and down its shirt. Someone shoots it in the legs, and it lands. It falls to its knees, and it's staring up, mesmerized at the hole in the roof and out at the sky. Aubert notes that the ghoul has the same bandage in the center of its forehead. And Sarge instructs Bennett to keep a gun to its head, and she does. And Sergeant Broom reaches forward, and he slowly peels the bandage away as the ghoul stares up. And Segura gets a close-up of the wound, revealing that the interior of the skull is almost completely and totally empty. Aubert finds a hole in the wall, hearing something, and he calls for Segura, the camera guy. He says, "Hey, body bag, stick your camera in here." And Segura does, and he's looking up a dark, dusty, and narrow shaft, and we can hear screaming for help from a distance. And someone notes that it's E.T. From the dark at the top of the shaft, we see a bald, white-eyed ghoul peering down, and it's eerily gurgling through this tuneless rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Segura's like, "No thanks," and he pulls the camera back out, and he tells the team there's something up there. So the team heads up the stairwell, led by Ivy, who inspects the blockage at the top, and he tells the crew that there's no way they're going to get through. And Segura, the camera guy, breathlessly asks, "Well, what about the chainsaw?" It's downstairs. And the team looks back at him momentarily before saying he's right, and they all head back downstairs. So the music begins slowly rising in intensity as we're heading downstairs. right, like that.
Oh my god.
So we head downstairs, and they come through the hall, down the main staircase, and into the foyer before entering one of the small living areas downstairs. The lumbermen and other numerous ghouls are lying motionless on the floor. So we cut to Aubert, his body cam, the Bill Moseley cosplayer. He picks up the chainsaw on the floor, but the way he's holding it basically makes this shot a chainsaw cam with his body cam. It's fucking glorious. So Aubert picks up this chainsaw, and the chainsaw cam pulls up as Aubert lifts it, revealing a now standing lumberman whose jaw and tongue now hang wildly like Venom from Spider-Man. And it's otherworldly, and it looks awesome. And so the lumberman snarls loudly, and Aubert wastes no time. He brings the chainsaw down into the lumberman's shoulder and nearly splitting him in half, and the lumberman falls. And we cut to Segura's camera, who is filming Aubert, and he's wide-eyed and covered in blood. And all around the team, the rest of the ghouls in the house are rising and coming to their feet. And Aubert goes Texas Chainsaw on these fools, and he's sawing limbs and torsos left and right.
Spinning around. And,
Absolutely. Just mowing these guys down. And we get this super cool shot from the chainsaw cam as Aubert catches this ghoul in the neck, and he's sawing away until he decapitates it, and the head slides down the blade towards the camera. It's fucking sick. And so the team heads back upstairs with the chainsaw to the blockaded stairwell, where they begin immediately sawing it down and removing lumber. And throughout the house, while they're doing this, we can hear multiple ghouls waking and screeching, and they're all coming back to their feet. Just running through the house. And so Bennett and Aubert, we see them briefly gunning down some approaching enemies before Ivy saws down the blockage and he gets the door open, but it's narrow, the opening, due to the remaining lumber, and only one team member can fit through at a time. So they send Segura, the new guy, the camera guy first, who has to pass the camera off to Ivy as he passes through the opening, and Segura loses his hat passing through. And they're all rushing through the opening one by one, and the team head up and enter, and they close the door behind them, and Segura's lost his hat, and it's some haunted house shit, this hallway that they've entered. It's a long hallway. They've shut the door behind them. There's bare wood floors. It's dark. There's peeling paint and sporadic rotting holes in the walls, and there's numerous and random children's nightlights of all sizes and types.
And then two little girls in a white and blue dress come out saying, "Will you play with us?"
Dude, pretty much. Like everything but that. These creepy little nightlights of different varying sorts are all over the floor, and that's all that's lighting this hallway. And you can hear like little like baby music softly playing like on one of those like mobiles or whatever.
Tell me why, Brian, I heard this recently, but like an adult in a scary situation, it's not that much. Children?
Yeah, dude.
It's scary.
But that's what's so great about this story is that like the victims are children, and the fact that these guys are coming in and fucking like kicking ass and taking names in the name of like these innocent babies. Really cool fucking story. Yeah. Just me. But anyway, they're walking down this haunted house ass hallway, and there's fucking, children's night lights all strewn about the floor, lighting the way. And there's, the stereotypical fucking static TV, in the corner, right? And they come around the corner, they find this nursery, and it's dark. And this figure comes shambling out of the shadows, and it's the bald one that serenaded us with that creepy-ass rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And it's holding this dirty and pale baby in its arms. Aww. As it shuffles along. The baby's face is draped over with a piece of burlap, and the baby coos and babbles as the creature spots our team, and it's smiling maniacally, and it briefly approaches them with the baby in its arms before turning and exiting through the doorway. And the team slowly follow behind for a second, and we can hear it singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to the baby. Just awful to hear. Ivy spots another stairway headed up, and he calls for Sarge, and the team surrounds it, and there's overgrowth from a tree outside, and it intrudes through the doorway and up the stairwell, all these like vines and branches and twigs. And so Ivy calls up, going, "E.T.!" And there's no answer. And Sergeant Broom tells the team that whatever's up there, whatever's responsible, they're going to make it pay. And Bennett, the gal, she chimes in, and she says there's no reward for going home with extra ammo. And Ivy says, "Amen, sister." before she cuts in front of everybody.
Lock and load.
Hell yes. And this gal cuts in front of everybody. Bennett cuts in front of everybody, and she heads up first. So the others follow, and Aubert briefly stops Segura, the camera guy, and he's got Segura's hat that he lost, and he places it back on his head, and he tells him to wear your uniform. So Aubert is softening up a bit on the new guy. And from Bennett's body cam, we see her reaching the top of the stairs and entering a huge, vast, dark attic. And there's multiple cribs of differing shapes and sizes. They're all placed throughout, and the overgrowth of the tree reaches up into the attic. And Segura, the camera guy, he approaches a crib with a mobile quietly spinning above, and it spins slowly. It emits a soft tune, and in the crib there's this sickly-looking infant, and it's fussing under a dirty and blood-soaked blanket, and we can only see the top of its head. Segura reaches forward into the crib, and he slowly pulls the blanket back, and revealing the infant has a small and bloody beak, and it fusses and it cries, and the sound is a mix of a human infant and a monster. There's no other way to put it. It sounds awful. The team hears this whined gasping coming from the dark beyond them, and they slowly pace into the darkness, guns drawn, and their lights slowly reveal this towering creature. It's easily 8-9 feet. It's like this otherworldly and profane stork. Like, it's wrong to look at, with like its sagging titties and like, and this it's the same thing from the shrine, and it's huge and it's bird-like and it's almost apish the way that it stands, and it's got this long and pointed beak, and it's white-eyed, and it's featherless and naked. Ew. And it's wet with its own slimy sweat and blood. It's so gross, dude. And what's cool about this part, actually, I found out, these are practical effects. They built this fucking thing, and it looks wonderful. So well done, team behind Stork. Fantastic job. So this thing, they built it. It's all slimy and sweaty and blood soaked. Its fucking long ass beak, and its long arms are reached out, and we see it's holding up E.T., the dad, and he's gasping breathlessly as the creature has its beak impaled in his skull, and it's sucking out his brains, slurping them out. The creature just carelessly drops E.T.'s body to the floor, and it turns to a crib nearby, and its neck convulses, long-ass neck convulsing, and you can hear the brain matter shifting around in its throat. It's so disgusting. And the creature sees the team and doesn't give a shit. It paces over to this crib where it lowers its head in, and it's regurgitating.
Oh no, not baby mommy birding it.
Yep.
Oh god.
The team realizes that the stork is feeding the infants. That's why they're like mutating. And so this stork creature finishes and turns to the team, and it starts growling low. And someone says, it's so cheesy, it's so awesome. Someone says, light this fucker up. As Segura, the camera guy, drops to the ground, and he catches this low-angle shot as the members of Warden fucking rain down on this asshole. And it's all shotguns and assault rifles, and each member is unloading on this thing as it continues standing. It's taking the bullets, and the bullets are...
The slow-motion shot.
Yes, exactly. And the bullets are ripping away at its flesh, and it's fucking taking it, and it's slowly approaching them. Fucking awesome. And E.T. rises up, and he's now the dad. He's now a white-eyed ghoul, and he attacks the camera guy, Segura. And so he's all in the fucking camera. His face is in the camera. And Segura tries to fight him off as the other members take E.T. down. And meanwhile, the stork has gotten too close, and it whips its neck, and impales Segura, our camera guy, in the stomach with its beak. And Segura drops the camera to the ground and stumbles away. And now the camera lies one shot. It lies tilted on the ground, and there's a single white crib in the background, right? You can still hear the members of Warden shooting and firing on this thing. And someone yells to finish it, and we hear the single gunshot. And the stork creature drops to the floor in front of the camera, and there's a single bullet hole spilling blood down its face. The stork creature is slowly fidgeting for a moment before becoming still. And we stay focused on this shot as Sarge tells everyone to cease fire, and we hear Sarge helping Segura up, and he's telling him he's not gonna die. And Segura says, so this is what it's like hunting monsters. And Sarge says, yeah, something like that. So this is a routine kind of outing for these guys. Warden is a group that routinely take down supernatural forces of some sort. That's what we're getting from this.
Oh.
Segura, the new guy's like, he's the new guy. He's going, so this is what it's like hunting monsters. And Sarge is like, yeah, man, something like that. Like,
Oh my god.
this is what it's like. Sarge tells Segura, welcome to Warden. And we hear the guys helping Segura to his feet, and they begin to exit the attic. And we can hear Bennett, the gal, asking what they're going to tell the families. And Sergeant Broom speculates that it might be best to say nothing, and they leave and it gets quiet. And so we're still focused. The camera's on the ground. We're still focused on that tilted shot of the Stork creature lying before the camera, and there's the crib in the background. The crib slowly begins moving.
What?
And we hear an infant fussing inside of it. And the Stork creature begins to stir, and its eyes are opening, and it's slowly lifting its head off the floor. And suddenly we hear someone marching up to the Stork. Not today, fucker. And a single boot comes stomping down on the creature's skull, crushing and obliterating its head. And brains are squishing out onto the floor. And we static cut to black. And then we static cut to a single black and white photograph of our crew, clutching their guns and standing proudly as the dead carcass of the Stork is propped up and posed in the middle of the picture.
Oh my god.
Aubert is flipping the bird, and we static cut, and that's Stork. So this segment is lots of fun. It's this crazy mashup of horror shooters like Resident Evil and Doom mixed with like H.P. Lovecraft and a dash of 80s action flick machismo. It's so much testosterone, so much badassery. We get this nice happy ending. It's safe to say that this is my favorite segment.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the VHS like stories, a lot of them don't have happy endings.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A majority of them, you've seen them, right?
I've seen them, and then also I think this is another one that's in VHS Beyond, but like they're all up in like a plane going skydiving.
Yes, that's a good
and
one.
Then the
Orange
alien,
Grove one.
And I didn't understand what was going on, and then suddenly like the alien attacks the plane blows up, they're all falling from the sky, somebody gets cut in half, and the guy ends up like trying to pull a chute, but he pulls it too late and he hits the ground hard. And
yeah, because they're skydiving and they're documenting themselves. Woo! Like, we're up here.
What is that?
Fucking living life. And there's a UFO fucking crashes into them on accident, and so everybody's tumbling down the UFO and the plane and everything.
Cut in half.
And they end up, yes.
But
and
he was attached to somebody, wasn't he? I think
Yes.
they said they were attached to somebody, but it decapitated them when...
Absolutely. What do they call that when you have to be attached to somebody your first...
diving buddy?
Your first dive. Yeah, I had to do that shit. I went skydiving once.
I will never do that.
You have to be attached to somebody on your first jump.
I will never go skydiving because I have a fear of falling.
So
death,
that dude's, was it a dude or a guy? Their instructor, he was like fucking decapitated. Yeah, and they all end up in that orange grove, and now there's an alien down there fucking on the loose.
I've seen a clip it was on TikTok. I thought it ended when they hit the ground.
No, they get down there, and that's kind of where the story starts. The intro is they're all in this plane. Fuck yeah! And they fucking hit this UFO on accident. Everybody goes crashing down, and now we're in a fucking orange grove. There's an alien hunting us down.
Was that the camera is like bloody and hit the ground, and then it cut. That's where it cut.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's an all-timer for this franchise, I think.
What's it called?
Oh man, I don't remember. But it's like the third segment in the story or in the movie. All that to say, this is easily my favorite segment from any VHS film. That's why we're covering it today. VHS Beyond itself, and in my opinion, it's easily the strongest in the franchise from beginning to end. I feel like these movies, they're good, and I
heard that the first two, I think, 2 or 3, I don't remember how many there are. The first 2, I think, are good, and then it went downhill for a while.
See, I feel like you can choose sporadically some gems throughout the series, but in my opinion, I feel like the series started off kind of weak. Just me, yeah. But I feel like it's only gotten better. Like ever since VHS, there was the third one, Viral, and then what was the fourth one?
Viral is the worst one.
Yeah, Viral was pretty bad. But in Viral, there's that one about the skateboarders that come across the satanic cult in Mexico. They're trying to skate, and that was a cool one. But Viral sucks. Yeah, absolutely. After Viral, after the third one, there's what's the
it's like 86 or 84 or something.
It might be 94. And from there on out, it's just me. Man, I really feel like it's just gotten better and better. And VHS Beyond, the 7th one in the franchise, man, it's the only one I can sit down from beginning to end and watch the whole thing and be entertained. And I'm not trying to rip on the franchise. Yeah. It just is what it is.
That's how some movies are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's streaming on Shudder. It's available for rental. Please go check it out.
I like that, actually.
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna probably have to try to go watch it now.
It's like 14 minutes long, 15, somewhere in there.
No, I'm talking about the whole movie.
Oh, check out the whole movie. Oh, super quick. Do you know who Justin Long is?
The name sounds familiar.
Did you ever see Tusk?
I know of it.
Barbarian. Jeepers Creepers.
Yes.
Okay, so he's the brother in Jeepers Creepers. Okay, he's had a long and storied career, right? He and his brother directed a segment in the newest VHS Beyond. It's called Fur Babies. Fucking stand out, bro.
Does it have to do with Furbies, does it?
Good. Pets is the theme of the... So good, dude. Fucking horrible. Disturbing.
All right,
So
Brian,
good.
I think this was another successful episode.
I think so too. Richard, where can the people find us on social media?
So you can find us on Spotify at the Bone Barrel Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Bone Barrel Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Bone Barrel Pod. You can also find us on our new Facebook group, the Bone Barrel Podcast. You can even find us now on YouTube now.
Woo!
At the Bone Barrel Podcast for those who don't have Spotify. But we do recommend subscribing, give us a thumbs up, leaving comments in the video. So you can also email us at bonebarrelpod@gmail.com.
And as of this moment, we have 3 subscribers on YouTube. So let's get those numbers up. Our tag on YouTube is at Bone Barrel Podcast. Please come check us out.
And we'd like to thank all of our misfits in all things horror for listening on another episode. I'm Richard.
I'm Brian.
And this has been the Bone Barrel Podcast.